Hello everybody, welcome back to Terrace Talk. The international break is over, club football returns, Norwich City travelling to Deepdale on Good Friday, the start of a hectic Easter period for the Canaries to face Preston North End. And I'm delighted to preview tomorrow's game in the company of Norwegian commentator, TV presenter, Norwich fan Kasper, and also from the Finney contributor and Preston fan Josh. Kasper, let's start with you, because I think in recent weeks we've had Australia, South Africa, America, and now we've got Norway. So talk to us a little bit about your relationship with Norwich City.
My first football card was a Norwich and a Bristol City player, actually. So I think I just fell for the name. It's Norwich, Norway was quite similar, and then started following Norwich on the teletext. I had my first game at the Carrow Road in the 87-88 season, Norwich with Luton. And of course, been not a regular, but once or twice a season at Carrow Road since then. I had 2 games in the 92-93 season. That was home with Ipswich and home with Man United, the 2 only games they lost at home that season. So I've not always been a lucky charm, though, but it's never boring supporting Norwich.
No, it definitely isn't, and we'll get your takes on some of the Norwich City issues at present. We'll probably speak to you about Norwich City's Norwegian contingent as well, since we have you with us. Josh, let's come to you. It's been quite a hectic international break for Preston. Firstly, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming on. But equally, how have you found this break? Has it been a nice period to kind of refresh from a Preston perspective?
Yeah, massively. The last few weeks have been pretty tough for North End. So it's been a nice break, but hopefully we can try and get a few wins in the last 8 games and just make sure we don't get into any relegation battles, really.
Yeah, it seems bizarre given how you guys played at Carrow Road in the reverse fixture that maybe you're looking over your shoulder a little bit. Kasper, let's talk about the situation, and Daniel Farke obviously has been pretty vocal, and I'll get Josh's take on it in a moment just for to get a bit of balance. But in terms of the situation with this game happening less than 48 hours after some Norwich City players have played on the Wednesday evening for their countries. Just been in Daniel Farke's press conference earlier this afternoon, he spoke about Dimitris Giannoulis, for example, who's been away with Greece, and his game finished at 20 minutes to midnight, and then he got back to his hotel at 2 a.m, essentially then had to catch a flight at 7 o'clock in the morning, which for anyone who catches a flight, you have to be there 2 hours in advance, so it had to be at the airport for 5 a.m. This is a really difficult and strange situation that this game is going to take place for Norwich City in. Of course, the blame isn't on Preston. It's probably more at the EFL's door. But in terms of Norwich, it's not the best preparation to have going into a game as you're trying to secure promotion, is it?
No, it's a strange thing, really, to have a game 48 hours. It's been a strain on the players the whole season. It's been a short build up to the season, the Corona. They played 3 games internationally now, and then they go back 48 hours traveling around Europe to play. So I think it's a strange one, really. But this is where we can hope Norwich squad can be in good use. Because there's a reason Norwich have 8 players internationally now. It's because they have a squad with a lot of good players, and that's hopefully what they can be in use now.
Do you understand Daniel Farke's frustrations? I mean, as a head coach, having maybe 13 players in the building for 2 weeks is incredibly difficult. But equally, it's kind of as you said there, it's almost a credit to Norwich, isn't it, that they have a squad that contains so many international players? Yeah,
this would never happen with a Premier League team 48 hours after. So it's credit to Norwich to have so many internationals and to have so many class players that they have. But I can understand the frustration with Zimmerman out as well. It's really taking a toll on the squad now. But hopefully you can see Sorensen as a centre back. He's played there for the under-21s. You can see the Norwegian Alex Tetti back in the team. They usually do well when he plays. And hopefully you can see players. Tajeta, he didn't play, but he was at Wembley on Wednesday, so he will come back fit to play. So you still have lots of players to do job. And if you see the rest of the season, is 8 games left, 3, maybe 4 victories. wins, then you're up. But there's still a job to do, and of course those last wins, they're always the most difficult ones when you've been in good form and you just need to get over the line. That's almost always the most difficult part of the season. That is what Park is seeing, I think.
Yeah, it's that period, isn't it, where it's so close you can almost touch it, but it's not quite there,
No.
and it's just about it's between, I guess, going to grab it and actually reaching it, which is the difficult bit. Josh, you've kind of heard us speak, and I'm sure you've seen Daniel Farke's press conference, which was one of the maddest that certainly I've been involved since doing this job. What is your take on it as a Preston fan? Because I think, in fairness to Daniel Farke, who's always said his issue maybe isn't with Preston, it's with the EFL, but do you understand Norwich City's frustrations, I guess, at the scheduling of this fixture?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, it's harsh on Norwich to have so many players out injured and on international duty. But I think this Norwich squad, obviously, you've seen it had so many injuries earlier on in the season. There was so many youth players on the bench, and you're still 8 points clear. So it's clear the quality that you have. And as much as I sympathise with you, North End did you a bit of luck this season. So, hopefully it can work in our favour.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, you guys and you're, as a fan, would probably be more willing to take this game knowing that there's that advantage that Norwich have 12 players out and there's the opportunity for points. As you said there, you're looking over your shoulder a little bit now because of the form you're in. Your manager's just left. You're due maybe a little bit of luck. This is a situation where possibly if you're a figurehead at Preston, you're maybe putting a red circle around and going, there's a real good opportunity now to get points given the circumstances that Norwich are travelling to Deepdale in.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, if you've got a fully fit squad, I don't see North End getting anything out of the game. But with obviously all the injuries and international players who obviously need rest, I think we could. It gives us the opportunity to go and stamp our authority on the game, and obviously having a bit of a home advantage as well. Hopefully, we can pull off a bit of a shock result.
Absolutely, and we'll talk to you a little bit about the man who's going to be in a day out in a second. But Kasper, as you teed up nicely in your last answer, of course, Christoph Zimmermann out with a hamstring injury. Daniel Farke said today likely to miss the rest of the season. Of course, may just return for the final couple, but of course could be all done and dusted by then. We certainly hope it is. But in terms of a replacement, I guess it boils down to three, really, doesn't it? Alex Tettey, who you've mentioned, Jakob Sorensen, but then also Andrew Omabamadile, who's the young lad, some Ireland youth international caps, made a late substitute appearance from the bench for Norwich this season. Which direction do you think Daniel Farke will go for, if not just tomorrow, for the rest of the season? Do you think he'll be inclined to go with youth, as we've seen him do in the past, or do you think he'll opt for a bit of experience in terms of Tettey and, to a lesser extent, Sorensen?
Yeah, for the first games, it's like cup finals now, isn't it? When you just need those couple of victories. So I don't think he go with Omobamidele. I've not seen him play much, so I don't know what's he like. But I've had good success with him at the Football Manager. But of course, Sorensen, he's proven at left back. He never played left back before he came to Norwich, but he played centre back for the under-21s in Denmark, and I suppose he did quite well. So that would be the natural player to have there, and of course he's the kind of centre back that Farke is looking for too. He's good with the ball. He can play from behind. He's the safe option there, and of course Tettey, he does what the manager asks every time. So he would be an option. I think that they actually kept a clean sheet against Bournemouth in the Premier League when they had Amadou and Tettey as the two centre backs. So it can work against Preston, but I would say Sorensen, yeah.
I tweeted earlier, Norwich having no centre backs is so last season, isn't it? It just seems like a reoccurring theme for Norwich. I'll ask you very quickly about Alex Tettey then, Norwegian, of course, Nyland also new to the club, and they're both out of contract, I guess, but Alex Tettey may be more pressing in terms of his importance to the team and how long he's been at the club. What's your kind of feeling on the situation? A, would you like him to stay for another year? And I guess B, maybe with your professional hat on, can you see him sticking around for another year, because he's not played perhaps as much football as he might have liked? So that, of course, might be about to change for the next 8 games, but still a very important character around the group.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. He's an important character around the group. He's not going to play. He's not going to go after a contract outside Norwich City. If he's finished in Norwich, he's finished as a football player. I'm pretty sure. And I'm not sure how he feels about going up to the Premier League or going on a new season without playing much for Norwich. I think he's pretty happy, pretty satisfied. He's achieved a lot in this club. 9 seasons. It's quite remarkable, and he's well liked in Norwich. So I can see this is his last season, and that is his farewell. And I hope, if it is, I hope there's going to be supporters in the last games to bid him a good farewell, because I think he's been a wonderful servant for the club, and a very good ambassador for Norway in Norwich, I think, because he's so that fantastic guy he is.
Yeah, what a fantastic guy as well he's been, and what a servant, like you're saying. There's probably a nice bookend to his Norwich City career if actually he's got 8 last games and he plays them all at centre back and he helps Norwich get back to the Premier League. That would be a lovely end. But like you say, it would be a real travesty if Alex Tettey left and there were no fans in the ground. So hopefully, if that is the case, Norwich can convince him to come back and maybe do a little bit something down the line when Carrow Road is full, because certainly a player sort of fitting of that. Josh, let's come to you. As we said, a very busy couple of weeks at Preston. Alex Neil out, Frankie McAvoy in, 2 names that Norwich City fans know very well. Before I ask you a bit about Frankie McAvoy, let's kind of touch upon Alex Neil and the situation that maybe led to his departure. From the outside, it always seemed like he's been doing a fairly steady job in fairly tough circumstances financially. Of course, had the arguably 2 best players sold in January, in Ben Davies and Ben Pearson. How do you kind of sum up this decision? How do you feel about it? Was it the right time, I suppose, or would you have liked to see him given a bit longer? Because I've seen a real split actually online.
I think it was the right decision at the time where it was needed, before things got drastically dangerous and we ended up really in a relegation battle. Because obviously Rotherham have games in hand, but there are, I would say, at least another 3 teams that are worse than us at this point in the season. But the way we were going, performances were going worse and worse. It just needed to happen. I think Alex Neil really just needed a break from the game. His comments in press conferences, it just looked like he'd been drained. And I think we all really sympathised with him, especially on that last game against Luton, because he just looked fed up. And I think we all wanted it to happen purely for both parties, really. But he's been brilliant for us. We've got one of the smallest budgets in the league. We have done for the entire time we've been in the second tier. And people say it was his downfall his first season that we finished 7th, because that sort of set the bar pretty high. And for our budget, it sort of made Alex Neil made his performance look worse than it was. And obviously, as you mentioned, we've sold our best 2 players. We've not spent money. We've not replaced them. We have tried to replace them with League One players, which obviously, you sell a top Championship player, you replace them with a League One player, it's just not going to work. So we've got a massive rebuild job on our hands, and hopefully we can get a manager in or a head coach in, as we're looking to do, so that can lead it.
Rebuild is an interesting one. I was going to go for project, but I guess they kind of mean the same thing, really. It kind of feels that Preston's at a point where, like you say, maybe they do need a fresh injection of something, and they do need fresh ideas. With that in mind, was it interesting to see Frankie McAvoy, Alex Neil's long-term assistant, was his assistant manager at Norwich and Hamilton before that? Was it a surprise to you to see him given the last 8 games? And I guess as a sort of follow-up question, if you were in charge of Preston, who would you like to see come in and replace Alex Neil on perhaps a long-term basis if it's not Frankie McAvoy?
Yeah, it was a shock at first. I was fully expecting him to leave with Alex. So we weren't sure whether we were going to accept it. I think there was a few days between him being offered it and accepting it. So we weren't too sure at first. But from his interviews, he seems like a very genuine person who's got his own ideas. He's met mentioned a lot about the players being creative, which is something we've lacked massively over the last since lockdown, really, at the beginning of the first lockdown. Obviously, the first lockdown we started in 6th, and we just fell down towards the end of last season. This season's just got worse and worse, really. So, yeah, it was a shock to see him say, but I'm fully backing him, and hopefully he can bring a bit of entertaining football back. In terms of who I would like to see us bring in, it appears that we're looking to go down head coach route. So whether that be an under-23s coach or an assistant manager, I've seen a few names linked. Nicky Butt, who obviously left Man United this week or last week, he went to the bookies' favourite for a few days. So that would be an interesting one. We've also links to United Academy. There's 2 main managers that are being talked about that both have affiliations with Preston. Gareth Ainsworth at Wycombe and Matt Lofton at Lincoln, which both make sense to wait until the end of the season if that's the case, because both sides are playing for something. But personally, I'd like to see, out of the 3 that I've just mentioned, I'd like to see Appleton have a chance. I think he had a tough spell at the start of his managerial career with Blackburn and Blackpool, but he seems to really bring in youth players, and which we've lacked under Alex Neil, really. Many North End fans feel that the youth been sort of neglected under Alex Neil, in the sense that they've not really had opportunities. And Blackburn seems to just pick up all of our best players from our academy. So hopefully, if we get a manager, they'll look to use the youth, and Matt Lofton would definitely do that.
Yeah, and really sort of rave reviews about what the jobs he's done at Oxford and obviously Lincoln at the moment. So yeah, I think that's maybe not the worst shout in the world. Kasper, to sort of flip this round back to the game, it's difficult to kind of press you on, well, who do you think Daniel Farke's going to play here or here? Because realistically, if Daniel Farke's coming out 24 hours saying, I don't know who's going to be available, then neither do we. So I'll ask you a different question instead. I've seen a split, so I'm interested to get your sort of perspective on this. Some Norwich fans have kind of said, actually, of all those players returning from international duty, rest them all, and actually, I don't know if you want to call it make a point or whatever, but actually play those players who've been in the building and be fresh. And I've seen others who say, actually, no, this sort of schedule, this situation will probably put more fires in their stomach, maybe to go out and get a result. So which side of the fence do you think you sit on as a Norwich fan? What perspective do you have?
Yeah, you can't actually make a point without punishing yourself, can you? If you put out the reserve team, you lose, the only one that hurts is yourself and the 3 lost points. So that would be a bad idea. But I reckon Farke and his team have a good idea of who's fresh, who's available, and there is a couple exciting players to look at. Ballimumba, his short cameo, I thought it looked really, really exciting. And you have, of course, Xavi Cantia. He hasn't played for a long time. He's an astute left back if Janulis don't make it back in time. And you have Alex Pete. So you really have a good depth in the squad to in a way cover for the players who can't play. But it was positive that Pukki just got 14 minutes for Finland at the end against Switzerland in the friendly, and the 2 goals for that, 3 goals in the 2 games before that. So he might be fresh, and I think that's maybe the most important thing, because we don't really have a replacement for Timo Pukki as long as Almeida is out. So he's the one player that you can't replace. And of course, you have the best player in the league in Emi Buendia. I watched his Instagram, and he's really enjoyed the last couple of weeks with some days off with his family and his newborn. So I would reckon he's fresh and fit for fight. And if he plays well, Norwich plays well. So that should bode well.
Yeah, funny enough, I was going to ask you about Emi Buendia. That was going to be the next point, and that is kind of, I guess, if you want to find a silver lining, so to speak, it's that, isn't it? Emi Buendia being fit, available, having maybe some time with his family to recuperate ahead of what is a really important last 8 games. And you mentioned Pukki and Buendia there. Their relationship this season has been pivotal to what Norwich have done. And Norwich are going to need them fit and firing, aren't they, for the last 8 games?
Yeah, I really thought after West Houlihan and as a middle-aged man, I couldn't really fall in love with a player again in the childish way you fall in love with players. But then in came Emi Buendia, and I fell head over heels in love with him. So and he's really a gem. And I'd say if he got a chance on the highest level for all the big clubs, I think he would strengthen the most clubs in England. I think he's really a class player, both in with and without the ball. And you see, I saw a stat after the Nottingham Forest game that was only the second game Norwich won without Emi Buendia in the team since he arrived, and that says it all, really.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Nothing says it better than that, I don't think, Kasper. Josh, from Preston perspective, as we said, falling down the table a little bit, is confidence the big issue? I saw some quotes from Ched Evans today who said actually he feels that games against the more superior sides in the division, if you want to call it that, they're the games that actually Preston tend to deal with perhaps a little bit better than teams at the wrong end of the table. Why do you think that's the case, I guess? Because we saw earlier this season when Preston came to Carrow Road and actually gave Norwich City a very, very good game in terms of how they pressed them and how high they looked to press them, which hasn't always been the case at Carrow Road this year. So why do you think it is that maybe you guys deal better with games against teams fighting for maybe promotion or the playoffs rather than teams at the bottom?
I think it comes down to a bit of a tactical thing, really. I think obviously the superior teams can play a lot better. So I think North End struggle against teams that sort of want to sit back, sit deep and hit us on the counter because we really haven't got creative players. To be frank, we don't create many chances. So if a team's sitting back, we struggle to break them down. Whereas a team like Norwich are also going to come and play. So, and one of our strengths is pressing. So I think that can work in our favour, and that's why we tend to be better against the bigger teams. But that since I've been watching North End for 10, 11 years, that's always been the case. We've always turned up against the big side, and then again that we're expected to win, we just somehow manage to lose.
Yeah, I can speak about a lot of similarities with Norwich on that front. I want to ask you a little bit about Jordan Hugill. He's obviously a player that you know well as a Preston fan. He's obviously been at Norwich this season. Maybe hasn't started the amount of games that maybe he or Norwich fans expected, largely because of what Kasper spoke about there in terms of Teemu Pukki's wonderful form. But just talk to us about the impact he had at Preston and maybe how you feel about him now, because obviously he left for West Ham, didn't he, in January a couple of years ago for a fairly sizable fee. Has he been a player that you guys have struggled to replace? How do you kind of view him now?
Yeah, my opinion's changed quite a lot. At the time I was sort of, he was a great player for us, don't get me wrong, but I don't think I realised how much we'd actually miss him. I thought the signing of Jayden Stockley at the time, given his record at Exeter, would sort of replace that in the target man. But Stockley he didn't really manage to sort of get his ability up to the level needed. And he's now out on loan at Charlton in League One, which I think is more his level. So yeah, I don't actually think we've ever really replaced him. Ched Evans has come in and been very physical, which surprised me. Ched Evans has been a massive surprise for most North End fans this second half of the season. But we've said this over and over about multiple players, but Hugo's just an example. We just don't replace them. You know, Callum Wilson was replaced with Scott Sinclair, who's just turned 32. So, although Sinclair's an unbelievable player and he's had a brilliant career, it's not the ideal replacement age-wise. Ben Pearson wasn't really replaced. Daniel Fisher definitely wasn't replaced this window. And Hugo's just one of those examples. So, yeah, I wish we had Hugo back, put it that way. But, yeah, he is a brilliant player at this level.
Interesting stuff. Kasper, we've had, I think on this show, however, I lose count of how many shows we've done, but it feels like every time an opposition fan has come on, they'll go, it's a free hit for us this game against Norwich. Have the tables turned a little bit? Is this a bit of a free hit for Norwich, given the situation they're in? Or, like you said there, because of the points situation and the fact that maybe we're a matter of wins away, I think it's 14 points they need to secure promotion as things stand. You can probably debate whether they'll actually need that many. But is this game a little bit of a free hit because of the circumstances that Norwich are in?
No, I'm not sure about that, because as we were saying earlier, that you really need to get those wins to get over the line. So that's really the problem for Norwich. And if you start losing points, you lose points against Preston, maybe you lose points in the next game, and then you suddenly have the other teams breathing up a neck, and then you feel the pressure. That's what Norwich have to avoid to get this promotion over the line. So I don't think it's a free hit really. And yeah, if you see the two teams, Norwich should be favourites, even though they're missing players. And as you said, Daniel Fischer, he was great at Carrow Road in the first game. So and that was the first game between those two teams. That was a great game with supporters in the stands and everything. It just seems like it's distant memory now, but I'm really looking forward to it. It could be a good game on Friday still, but I think Norwich, they shouldn't lose, because I don't think that would be good for the group to get a loss now. So maybe not win, but it's not a free hit though.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I wanted to ask you a bit about Nyland as well. Obviously signed for Norwich in January. He's had a very difficult maybe year or so, given that his sort of contract was terminated at Aston Villa after he fell down the pecking order. Had back surgery as well, didn't he, on a fairly serious injury. Arrived at Norwich in January, second choice. How important has it been for him just to get back into a club and then be a sort of match day squad to support Tim Krul, possibly even, if both parties agree, an opportunity to be a number 2 in the Premier League again, which is probably obviously he'd like to be a number 1, but I guess having that opportunity in sort of reserve maybe isn't the worst sort of second bet. It's a difficult thing being a goalkeeper, isn't it? Because only one can ever play, so it's a difficult kind of dilemma, I guess.
Yeah, he has had troubles with his back, so I think he's really enjoyed coming back and getting treatment and getting back to train and to get in the matches. So as you say, he's a goalie with a really high top level. He's shown that several times in the League Cup semi-final against Leicester last season when Aston Villa got to Wembley. He was fantastic. He won the Norwegian Cup almost by himself with the Championship team. Before he got out to Norway, so that's he's got a great top level, and I think where he is now in his career, he have to make a choice though. Do you want to be a backup goalie in the Premier League, or does he want to find himself a club where he can be a first choice? Maybe not the Premier League level, but he's played in Germany, he's played other places. So I think that there was really a really good fit. To get half a year, Norwich needed a backup goalie. He needed to get back in shape and get back in the rhythm. And then they have to discuss in the summer. But this 6 months I think it's been perfect for him and for Norwich. Yeah,
agreed. And really good to see him in some matchday squads. And it looks like he's going to be in the squad tomorrow as well, after obviously being cast into the Norway squad, which is another good step for him to see. Josh, how I kind of put it to Kasper there about it being a free hit and maybe opposition fans coming on and saying that. Again, kind of a similar question. How do you view this now? Because like you said, with maybe a full strength Norwich side, this isn't as interesting a fixture maybe from your guys' perspective. Is this now a really good opportunity for you guys to turn a page, to start what maybe it might be a mini era, but certainly a new era with Frankie McAvoy in charge with some points and hopefully, I guess, 3 points from your perspective? Do you see this now as a good opportunity given the circumstances that we've discussed for the last half an hour?
Yeah, definitely. If you had full strength, I wouldn't give Northend a chance really, given our form this year and just the players that we're missing after January. So it's a massive opportunity for us, and we've got some tough games coming up. We've still got to play Swansea and Brentford and obviously Norwich in the next 3 games. So we need to take every opportunity that we can, and I think it's definitely a positive that for us that you're missing so many players, and hopefully we can just get a positive result and a performance for the fans, really, because I think a positive performance would massively sort of reunite a fan base kind of thing. I know it's just one game, but it's been very negative. So hopefully we can get back on track and just have a positive end to the season.
Go on then, Josh. I'll let you start, seeing as Preston are the home team this Good Friday. How do you see this game going? And let's have your score prediction as well.
I'll be optimistic. I'll say 2-1 North End.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Kasper, I'll come the same to you. How do you see this one going? Probably impossible to predict from a Norwich City perspective, but I'm going to ask you to do it anyway. How do you see this game going, and then your score prediction as well?
Yeah, I'm really nervous about this one, and because you can feel the pressure because you're so close. So I'm hoping they're not losing though. So I'll say 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. I think I'd probably take a point from this one and move on. I think that may be the best way to do it. Kasper, Josh, thank you very much for joining me. Really appreciate your time. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll leave all the relevant links to the guys down below so you can check them out. They both do brilliant work indeed. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.